more, and I'm back. Um, I need to do another video talking about the policies of the Texas Annual Conference, but and maybe I'll do one tonight. I wanted to talk about something else I haven't really, I've shared some about, and I wanted to talk about my extended family. Now, I have spoken about the Hassel family in Cherokee County. And I also have family in the Kingwood area. When my mother and her sisters were alive, two of her sisters lived near each other and moved to the Kingwood area over 20 years ago. My mother and most of her sisters have since passed away. There's one more left. I don't know if she's still living or not. And they were my, the fact that I have stated that my father was a sexual predator is not new to them. In fact, my cousins, Joyce, well, the one that I had really spoken to about it the most, Joyce, had told me that the rest of them thought my father was a creep. And they were right. They weren't off on that. They were 100% right. Oh, he was worse than a creep behind closed doors. He was an absolute monster. My father was the slimiest of the slimiest. I saw a therapist for 3 years, and she told me, based on what I had shared with her about my father was the slimiest predator she had ever heard about in all of her years of practicing therapy. I mean, that's saying something. And my father actually counseled child molesters at Rusk State Hospital. Of course, my mother's extended family seem to think that they are so important that unless they were there, it didn't happen or it wasn't relevant. So, for example, this photo, that's me right there. And then that's the rest of them. That moment in time, that's relevant because they were there. But the experiences I have with these girls, the 3 girls that's upside down, that my parents tried to adopt and sent back because they didn't want their dirty little secret out that they were child predators, that's not relevant to my mother's extended family. And chances are, if my parents had not done that, they would have hated April, Tiffany, and Rose just as much. But they weren't there. And they weren't there the day that the girls had to get the news that they were being sent back to foster care, because my parents didn't want their dirty secret to get out that they were child predators. And this was while my father was employed by the Texas Annual Conference Administration. And I'm going to play 2 recordings that I've played many times, that I've also posted on my social media. Let's see. First, let me find it. Okay, this is the first one.
All right, Alex. What did he do?
He tried to kill me and choke me. He tried to choke me to death.
How did he try to choke you?
You know that counter shows me it's 3 days. Halloween is 3 days. But I scared that Halloween away. So it ran away. That just
Okay, listen to me, Alex. When did he try to choke you?
just today.
Okay, was it before you went to school or was it after school?
After school.
Okay, was it daylight outside?
Yes. But he choked me to death tonight.
He tried to choke you tonight?
Uh-huh.
How did he try to do that?
Like this.
He put his hands around your neck?
Uh-huh. Like this.
Hey, Alex, he did?
Yeah.
Why did he, what happened? Alex, what happened? Alex, was he mad? Alex, was he mad when he tried to do that?
Yeah.
Why was he mad? Alex, I'm sorry, but Alex, please sit down and talk to me.
Okay. I got to in the tango.
Okay.
Okay, so, I have so much going on in my head. I don't really like to do these videos because I have too much to say and it's all jumbled up in my head. Now, that was my son, Alex, in 2016. He was 7. And the person that we were talking about, that he was talking about, was this guy. Let me see if I can. Well, it's not going to show. It's not, I can't show it. Was Carly Anthony. That's his father. That's my ex-husband. And I'm going to play the next recording for you. Let me see where it's at. And then I'm going to explain why I played that recording. Okay, this is it. Here we go.
I want to know, what was your justification for not letting me out of the apartment, for blocking the door? Oh, I could not get out. Why did you do that?
Because I was trying to get you to listen to me.
By blocking the apartment door and not letting me leave the apartment?
Yeah, I blocked you in.
Where's your justification for giving me codeine when I was 6 years old? Why'd you do that? When you knew I was making
The doctor
sick.
told me to.
That's a load of shit, too.
Well, whatever.
You knew it made me sick. You even went over to the neighbor's house and got strawberry ice cream and put it in the ice cream and fed it to me in the ice cream after I had already threw it up. Why'd you do that? Is it easier to keep me sedated so you didn't have to deal with me?
Yeah.
Is that what
Yeah.
was more convenient for you?
Yeah.
Or was it so I wouldn't know that my dad was molesting me? Is that it?
Yeah.
Your sarcasm
Okay.
and your arrogance isn't getting you anywhere.
Bye.
All right, so this is a recording of my mother where I directly asked her if she had drugged me with codeine, a narcotic, so that I would not know that my father was molesting me. And she had no remorse and clearly admitted, yeah. She was proud of what she got away with. And this person right here, you can barely see it. Oh, wait, it's right there, right here. Her name is Joyce. And Joyce likes to associate herself with child abusers because she's friends with my ex-husband on social media. I just played the recording for you of my child describing his father putting his hands around his throat, making him think he was going to choke him and kill him. The same man that dragged Alex, this was just before he put his hands around his neck, making him think he was going to choke him and kill him. Before that, Carl also was reported to CPS by Keith Elementary for dragging Alex 5 feet across the carpet, physically injuring him, and not seeking medical treatment. Now, I'm sure that Joyce probably wishes that Carl had gotten a video of it so she could watch and laugh, because Joyce seems to enjoy being associated with child abusers. And she seems to enjoy bullying victims of child abuse and sexual assault victims within our family, because that is what has been taking place. And you see, I had asked Joyce to assist me with my visitation during the custody trial because I was desperate. I know no parent has ever been desperate to see their kids before. What is that? I mean, what a lunatic. I must be a lunatic for being desperate. But I was. I was desperate to be able to see my kids. And she knew Carl was abusive. And I have Joyce on recording saying that she didn't think I should lose custody, that she didn't think I should not be able to see my kids. And she would help. Her name is on the court documents. But Joyce found it more beneficial to be friends with my ex-husband, knowing I have valid child abuse against him. But what Joyce doesn't realize is that he has custody, and in the event that anything happens to our kids, if he fatally or seriously injures our kids, because he's already injured one of them, and he is investigated by law enforcement, anyone who chooses to be associated with him in any way, even through social media, will be subject to questioning. This is why I have advocated for my kids on social media. But I'm sure, see, my family hates anybody that speaks out against abuse. And my take on that is that any family that attacks someone who speaks out about abuse, they must be okay with abuse. Because if you're going to lash out at somebody for speaking out against it, you must be okay with it. And my cousins, these morons right here, they were only around me maybe a few times throughout my childhood, not every day. In fact, the people I've spoken about the Texas Annual Conference, Those were the people that I was around more than these dumbasses here. I was. In fact, I have a cousin who teaches for the Humble School District. And I know she knows about this. And they want nothing to do with me. I understand because I'm complete garbage, and I can see why I would be an embarrassment to these people right here, because I was sexually assaulted and I wasn't compliant with being sexually assaulted by my parents. Because apparently these people right here seem to like that sort of a thing. And I guess they don't mind a parent putting their hands around a child's neck, making that child they're going to choke them and making that child think they're going to choke them and kill them. And I have a son who is on the autism spectrum. And my kids are watching Joyce attack me online. And there's also a Facebook post where my ex-husband has also posted on Facebook where he is referring or calling our sons freeloaders. The same sons that he lied in court so that he could win custody of them. They're nothing more than freeloaders to him. He committed perjury and lied because he wanted custody of our sons, who were nothing more than freeloaders to him. And Joyce reacted to the post laughing, because apparently Joyce sees our sons as nothing more than freeloaders. So I guess Joyce sees our son, who is on the autism spectrum and has been diagnosed with a devastating psychiatric disorder. I guess she sees him as nothing more than a freeloader. The same son who in that video described his experience of his father, Carly Anthony, putting his hands around his neck, making him think he was going to choke him and kill him. The same son who was dragged 5 feet across the carpet, physically injured by Carly Anthony, and Carl never took him to get medical treatment. So what if that happened to Joyce's kids? Would she be okay with that? Would Joyce and Tony be okay with, if Carl had done that to their kids, would they be okay with that? What about the rest of my family? They have kids. Would they leave their kids alone with Carl? Would they feel safe with that? Leaving him alone in a room unsupervised? Would they be okay with their children being in a room with a man that's capable of putting his hands around his son's neck at the age of 7 after dragging him 5 feet across the carpet and physically injuring him? Would they be okay with that? I mean, clearly they must be, right? See, I've advocated online because I had no other option. And, I don't know, maybe I wanted everybody to see why I deserve for my family to hate me. Because they are so pro-abuse and domestic violence that they want the victim to be compliant. I haven't just spoken about my experience. I've spoken about my experience growing up in an administration that had a history of employing clergy who were capable of murder and sexual assault of minors. And I did it from the perspective of a surviving victim, because that is what I am. Because nobody likes someone who has the courage to stand up for what is right. That's what the problem is. And this is nothing new coming from Joyce. For some reason, she has had a thrill of insulting me for over 20 years. I don't know what she gets out of it. Maybe she thinks Carl is hot. I don't know. Maybe she has a thing for child abusers or men that are willing to put their hands around a child's neck, making them think they're going to choke them and kill them. Maybe that's it. Also, these girls here, see, I wasn't my father's only victim. I'm just the one that's been vocal and public about it. But these girls here, they were also victims of my parents' abuse, and my parents got rid of them because they didn't want anybody to find out. How embarrassing is that? That's got to be pretty embarrassing. So I'm sure that my family will hate me even more. And I understand. I deserve their hatred because my mother admitted to drugging me so that my father would sexually assault me. And I'm sure that Joyce and the rest of my cousins, Katie, Sarah, Inger, Renee, I'm sure that they wish that my mother had drugged me, had overdosed me, so that I would not be alive to speak about it today. And they wouldn't have to be inconvenienced with it, because what they want is for me to just be compliant, because it's not really about what I went through. It's about their own ego and convenience. And usually, when someone isn't afraid to speak up and they show courage, it is intimidating to people. And what's funny is they didn't even like my mother. They didn't even like her. And quite frankly, I don't blame her, because my mother used to boss Inger around, and it pissed Inger off. And I don't blame her. I was pissed off for Inger. She shouldn't have done that. My mother should have minded her own damn business and shut the hell up. That's what my mother should have done, but she didn't. And they didn't even like my mother. They didn't like my father. My father creeped them out. But as a family member who speaks out, my takeaway on family members who are angry because someone is speaking out and becomes the black sheep, my takeaway is they support abuse. They're okay with that going on behind closed doors. But in the event that Carl decides to put his hands around our son's neck again, or seriously or fatally harm our sons, I wonder if Joyce is okay with being questioned by law enforcement and asking, why were you friends with him on social media if you knew? If you agreed to assist with the visitations, why didn't you? Because I don't have access to Joyce's Facebook account. So when Carl put the friend request in on her account, I wasn't there to accept on her behalf. That was her. Unless Joyce gave her password and login information to somebody else. So therefore, it's not Joyce's fault for accepting a friend request from my ex-husband. And here's the thing. Why would you want to be friends? Why would you want to be associated with somebody who's not even your own family? And it's interesting that you're so caught up in attacking somebody who has the courage to speak out and call out a multi-billion-dollar administration that her parents were a part of. And it wasn't just my parents. The family I'm talking about, we had family that was also involved with the Texas Annual Conference. They don't know that. And apparently they're too stupid to understand that because they're too butthurt about the fact that I am calling their precious 300-pound trashy, nasty aunt who drugged her own daughter so that her daughter could be sexually assaulted by her husband, who was a United Methodist minister, which was me. And not only that, what they are also don't know is that we are descendants of a family that survived a massacre. This is where I get my courage from. We are descended from a family that is historically known for surviving a massacre. We are related to Cynthia Ann Parker. And Cynthia Ann Parker held her own. Cynthia Ann Parker handled her trauma and she made it her own. And she did not let anybody tell her how, because her immediate family, once she was reabducted by the Texas Rangers, they wanted her to become a Christian. And instead, she insisted on practicing the Comanche beliefs and the Comanche culture, despite everything that happened to her. And she gave it her all. And that recording of my mother admitting to drugging me with codeine so that my father could sexually assault me, let me tell you, that is a drop in the bucket compared to the shit that they did back then, because it was absolutely horrific. The first time a speculum was used on me, I was in the first grade. I had surgery because of damage that was done to me by my father. My family doesn't know that. Why would they not know? Well, probably because they weren't fucking there, were they? And if they weren't there, then it wasn't relevant. It didn't happen because they weren't there. They think that they're that important. But they were up north. So, I wasn't there for whatever they experienced. But that doesn't mean that whatever they experienced during that time, that their childhood experience is not relevant. But what I chalk it up to is that because it wasn't relevant to them, is because they're okay with child abuse. They must be okay with horrific acts like drugging a child so that child can be sexually abused behind closed doors. They must be okay with it. They must be okay with a child with their father putting his hands around their neck. But I wonder if they would be okay with it if Carl did that to their children. Carl had my mother unattended around our kids, even though he knew she admitted to drugging me so that my father could sexually assault me. But it wouldn't occur to them to ask him what his intentions were because they're okay with that. They don't have a problem with that. I was in a shelter and I consulted with 2 attorneys pro bono. But I don't know how I did that because I am such a lunatic. And according to my family, I'm nothing more than a dumbass. And really, it's only their opinion that matters. I don't know how I managed to consult with 2 attorneys pro bono. I was in the custody trial for a week and I was ripped to shreds. They weren't there. If they thought I was such a horrible parent, they weren't there. In fact, Joyce has not even seen me around both boys. She would have if she had agreed to the visitation. She might actually have more info. Not anything that would be valid to use against me. This is absolutely amazing. The retaliation that I experienced for exposing sexual abuse in a multi-billion-dollar administration, my car was withheld from me for 7 months. I have the receipts. And I was able to get Jim Hastings from Helping Hands Ministry. He helped me get it back. How does that happen for somebody who's such a fucking moron? And yet I've managed to, I handle 35 accounts on 20 platforms. 35 accounts on 20 platforms. And the Texas Annual Conference knows that if they retaliate against me again, I'll just post it and make it public. I lost everything. The things that have gone on in the home of the boys, let me tell you. Alex has repeatedly told Kevin he wants him to die a slow and painful death. Alex has been hospitalized 7 times. That doesn't happen easily. And if my extended family had a problem with it, where the hell were they? They had ample opportunity to actually witness it. Alex has a triple diagnosis. That's part of the reason why I've advocated. That way, anything that happens in the home, people will know that Carl Edward Anthony was involved, and they will know who else he's involved with. Alex is watched like a hawk at school. There are no plans. He has no friends. There's no plans for his future. Joyce's son doesn't have that problem. He has a bright future ahead of him. Joyce's kids have not had to face a devastating diagnosis. Teachers and students have to be watched around Alex. He seriously injured a teacher at the age of 5. And yet Joyce still meddles. And it's interesting. I'm not quite sure why she wants to meddle and be friends with Carl and not help with the visitation when she agreed to help. Instead, she would rather be associated with a man that would put bruises on his wife, because he did put bruises on me when I was married. In fact, I called Joyce. I reached out to her and she blew me off. I left a panicked voicemail for her when I was going through that. So, my takeaway from that is they're okay with domestic violence behind closed doors. They don't have a problem with it. Because, from my perspective, if I saw somebody was very good with social media and there was strong evidence of child abuse, I don't think I would want to interfere. Because I sure as hell would not want to be questioned. So why are you involved with this child abuser? Which is a great, great question for Joyce. Why is Joyce friends with someone on Facebook like Carl E. Anthony, who would put his hands around our son's neck, making him think he's going to choke him and kill him? And then participate with Carl calling our son nothing more than a freeloader. The same son, he put his hands around his neck, making him think he was going to choke him and kill him.